If you're already following the Great Guitar Build-Off, that's great. And if not, come and join me. In the second part of the build, I'll start shaping the body of my original copy of Abbasi's 7-string guitar and maybe even touch on the neck. So come on, let's build a guitar. Hi, I'm Yoav, and this is the Electric Luthier, and my build for my entry of the Great Guitar Build-Off 2021. I've got all the parts, all the plans, and it's time to make some dust. Sadly, dust-wise, I'll start with templates and some quality MDF dust. I love this material, but really hate working with it. As long as you don't get it wet, it's hard, predictable, easy to cut, and gives very clean and smooth results. But the dust, it's awful. The downside of jigsaw compared to a bandsaw is rougher edges, and the price to pay is some more sanding. MDF sands easily, and a spindle sander would even make it easier. I'll be doing separate templates for the headstock and neck, because it'll be angled, and I also have to figure out the final width of the heel. I start putting the body together. I cut my just under 2-inch poplar to a size which will fit the body. These have been planed and jointed in advance. I set them up on my big clamps and apply a generous amount of glue. To avoid slippage during clamping, I sprinkle some table salt. The salt will provide enough friction to avoid any motion when tightening and should dissolve, or not, who cares. These clamps are so strong and sturdy, with a piece of wood this thick and wide, I'm pretty sure that 2 are more than enough. The next day, I take my template, and after I properly align it to the center line, drill and put 2 screws in the neck pocket area and where the bridge pickup is. This way I can attach, remove, and attach the template again with great accuracy and with no need for double-sided tape and all of that. I mark with a nice thick red marker. It makes it easy for the cutting and looks nice on camera too. If you're using a bandsaw, you can just leave the template on, but with a jigsaw, I prefer removing the template for the cutting to avoid any tilting and wiggling. I try and cut fairly close to make life easier for the router. I start with the larger table-mounted router. Both the bearings and the template are at the bottom here. Notice I've doubled the bearings. I find that it gives me a better and more stable route, especially with a cheaper type of bearings. If a single one fails during routing, it could damage the body. This way, I remove about half of the thickness and manage to avoid any chipping. For the second half, I plan to use my small trimmer router with the extended base. I give the freshly routed area a bit of a sanding, as I'm going to be gliding on it to route the second half in 2 passes. This time I come from the top with the triple bearing giving me good support to the blade. The key to making this small trimmer work is not biting more than you can chew. I would go with even smaller increments if this was a harder wood. For the third and last route, I use a small bit that has the bearing on the tip and eats up the remaining little strip. Now, any of these 3 methods could have been employed by itself with a large and strong enough a router and a good quality bit. I'm just showing all the options here. The general shape is now cut, and it's time to start the contours. I've made a paper template for both the front and the back contours, and since I'm not going to route these, all I need is to mark them. when I want to remove a lot of material and make a lot of sawdust fast, it's time for the rasp saw grinder. It's pretty rough, but once you get the hang of it, you can use its roundness and caress the wood into shape. Sure, you can very easily ruin everything. You can use other methods like manual rasps, saws, chisels, etc. After this very rough sculpting, you'll need to smooth the surface from the deep scratches. I start with some very rough, like 40 or 60 grit paper, and start working my way up. Take your time in the beginning. You're not going to remove the rasp saw scratches with a 240 grit paper. It's just not going to happen. Before fine sanding, I found a couple of spots I want to fill. This body is going to be colored, so just like in the industry, I can use it to my advantage and smooth out these areas. I'll start with these two spots and just use some fine dust and a little glue. Since I wasn't too sure about the cavity shape I wanted for the pickups, plus they're going to sit in a weird and different angle, I'm doing a separate template for it. I'm going to use the shape of the pickup package, but I find the traditional routing for the screws awkward. So I went with a rounded cavity that I think will also look better on this body. I'll get back to this one, but I want to finish with the back cavity first. I'm using a shape resembling the original. I make a template for the cover and copy it to the negative to route the cavity itself. After that, I'm drilling to remove as much material as I can. I try to make even these smaller templates on relatively large pieces of MDF, so I can simply clamp them and not have to fiddle with double-sided tape or super glue for each little one. Well, it helps when I'm making them up as I go along. I route them out in 2 passes and a third shallow one just for the cleanup. After doing a great job, I noticed that I've used the cover template for the cavity and did not leave room for the screws and the lip on which the lid sits on. Lucky for you, I'll get to demo my rabbit bit. Now these are commonly used for creating the small step we make for binding, and usually come with a set of bearings of different sizes so I can control the depth or thickness it's going to be. I figure out the depth and make only a little step so I don't end up too close to the edge. Now it's time for the jack plate to be fitted. I really like the way it's positioned and the use of the Strat style plate. I didn't want to do a full route, and I remembered that I should be aware of the angled edge on the other side, so after positioning it, I just drilled a couple of holes and chiseled and grinded it to the right shape. After a bit of a cleanup, I get back to the control cavity. I decided to fit it with some dowels, so I'll have a bit more wood there to which I can attach the screws for the cover. I cut them to the depth of the cavity, shave one side for a better fit, and one by one glue them and put some pressure for them to dry. Before I get to the front of the body and figure out the positioning of the bridge and the pickups, I have to really know my scale length. And in this scale length in plural. Now the easiest way to do that is to use the neck itself, and instead of just calculating it, just measure it. Well, this whole project started when I wanted to do a multiscale guitar. I'm not going to go through the whole process of planning the multiscale fretboard. I've made a whole detailed video of just that, and if you're interested in doing one, you should check out the link. I'll put it up there and in the description. The short version is that in order to create a multiscale fretboard, You'll first need to decide which scale you want for the longer, lower scale, and which one you want for the higher scale. I was originally planning for a 6-string and decided to use a long 26-inch scale for the low E string and a slightly shorter than Gibson 24.5 for the high E. This gives me a 1.5-inch difference, which is more than the original Abbasi one and more than most other multiscale guitars. I'm not going for subtle here. Once this is decided, you mark them in the same way you would mark normal frets, but you mark one scale on the exact position of the E string itself, not the fretboard edge. You start with the low E, because it's the longer one, and work your way down from the nut. After that, you decide which fret is going to be the straight one. It works out to be the 10th in my case. I think it's the 7th or 8th on the original Abbasi. You figure out where you should start the second, shortest scale according to the straight one, and then you go to the higher E string. Here again, you start from the nut and work your way down. After you've marked both scales, you connect the dots to get the nice fan-fretted look. I would then scribe it with a sharp blade once or twice and very carefully start working it with a fret slotting saw. Now, with all the excitement, I didn't even use a block or any kind of stop to guide the saw blade. It probably would have made life a little easier. Normal slotting jigs or miters will not help here. 25 slots later, and some sanding, I have a beautiful Indian rosewood slotted multi-scale fretboard. It's wide enough for 7 strings, and although the scale length is going to be a little different from the original intention, it should work just fine. Join me next time when I'll be making a neck for this fretboard and continuing the build of Orangina. If you enjoyed this in any way, please let me know by liking or commenting. You're also welcome to a lot more information on guitar building on my website, theelectricluthier.com, and many more videos such as these on my channel. And until next time, go on, build a guitar!